Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, and today we are going to be covering and reacting to the apparent 3v3 battle being back on between the two sides in KvK1 out of the G2 pool, which is now apparently between NTS, YSS, IMFS again, and the same old second team being Hunt, MFD, WBA, and NXW. I got screenshots, we got some clips from Gunz' stream. I'm pretty excited to show this off. I'm going to share with you what I think and also how I think this is actually going to play out near the end of the video, because no matter what, I still feel like I win regardless, because content is content, baby. As always, if you know the content, make sure you throw us a quick on the video because it helps a lot and means a lot. Thank you so much. All right, kiddaroos, here we go. And of course, as always, if you have any clips, you got screenshots, videos, you got a hot lead you want to share with me, regardless if it's on this KvK, another one, or on a kingdom, or something that's happening, always feel free. You can slide into the DMs on Discord, or you can reach out to me on my main or low active main. I'm just always there on Kingdom 65 in-game account if you want to shoot me a message there. Okie dokie, here we go. Starting with, so we got a message here from Phoenix that starts off us in COD Gen Chat saying, just curious, if we were to enter your maze of towers on Pass 4 opens, this is talking about entering the IMFS Zone 3 from YSS's win in Zone 2, would y'all freely let us demolish them, or will some of your members fight? Double D says no clue. Flaming here at the bottom says, because we were told not to fight IMFS unless they fight first. Now, before we show anything else, the interesting part here is that as of us finishing off the reacting to the second Diplo meeting that happened in the voice call, you would have imagined that what's happening here, this makes no sense, because we don't know, YSS didn't apologize. IMFS, we don't think apologized or removed any kind of merit reduction requirements from Final Zone numbers in order to figure out end of season awards. Nothing has been solved at this point. So this is a little bit confusing, almost somewhat contradictory. Let's continue though. Then we get Ryuko posts this mail for Diplo being back on the table. And then we get the announcement here from Jason. And it says, which is basically the same thing. Looks like NTS has spoken to YSS and YSS agreed not to be aggressive or hostile towards us. Meaning the 3v3 is back on the table. So this is very important to understand. This isn't even a nap, right? Like you could say it's a loose nap, maybe at most, which is essentially a non-aggression pact, and that's just for PvP, not for anything else. But this is really more of NTS and 49 and Mark being the absolute super Chad champs that they are, these based alphas, if you will, and being able to get these two sides to at least acknowledge the fact, or we could say this result of just not hitting each other, right? And focusing on the enemy, which again, I still think is an overall win. Be ready for Final Zone, heal up, stack up. Also, I just want to point something out. Did anyone notice this? It's always interesting when you see these pings, from these top kingdoms, especially after we know that these things are going to be addressed sooner than later. Maybe it's just me. All right. Tell your partners you're going missing. Tell your kids you're getting milk for a few days. I don't care. Just be present. I mean, listen, man, at least Jason's honest. Got to respect. We need, or upfront and honest, we need to do better with VC activity and listening to comms. Please ensure you can join and listen into VC chat. Let's get ready to fight. So the interesting part here is that nothing here from Jason's announcement / the IMFS announcement acknowledged whether or not an apology was made or that they've figured out the end of season award distribution. All this is simply saying, it almost feels like they're just tabling it, which I will say, as kudos to Jason, based on what we heard in the VC recording, big ups to him. I will say now, to me, your stock has now come back and increased to where it was originally. Because in this now he doesn't acknowledge it, but I think fair enough, if you're reading in between the lines, he's also not calling it out and saying that it's a problem, right? Now, maybe it will be once things are decided, if maybe they want to go and fight at the end of the season, however that might transpire, but at least it's not something that's holding him back from saying, okay, we're going to work on this, right? Even if we're not going to ally, we're not going to full on nap, right? I still will at least acknowledge that because I think there are some kudos there to be given. The next one that we get here, this is coming from the YSS announcement side. So this is Tomato saying, good job, everyone, and thank you for showing up today. Great fight and great activity overall. We reached 181 players online at our peak, which is great. There were still some people missing, but hopefully I'll see you all of you in the final zone. We also need more people in Discord. We only had around 120 people in VC today, which is still really good. Now, I want to update everyone on what has happened recently. On our plan for Zone 4, we will build into IMFS territory, destroying towers, and take the pass 5 on the right side to enter Dragon Zone. At the same time, we will also build through NTS territory and take the bottom pass 5 into Dragon Zone. With all due respect to NTS, we will not attack IMFS this season unless they start it first. So again, this is interesting because now it almost completely nullifies Dark's easy zone lock comments that were said in the VC, because now clearly that's not happening, at least initially. Now, could that still happen depending on how the final zone plays out? Absolutely. But at least at the moment, it doesn't look like that message is being put out there. So, and again, it seems as though they're willing to kind of do the same thing that IMFS is doing in this case, which is we're not really fully napping, but there's at least, it feels like, enough mature self-awareness on both sides to say, look, this is for the betterment of the KvK. So again, I do think there is some respect to be given there, at least with where we are in this kind of, I'd say, pre-final stage, because we still don't know how things will play out depending on how the final zone plays out, and it still could all go to shite. Next one here. Jason had shared some DMs saying, just want to say I 100% didn't want to work with you, which I just want to say, dude, like, I mean, oh God. I mean, listen, Jason's a homie. After, again, man, I had the chance to meet him and talk with him and hang out in New York. He is a good guy all around. And part of me feels like, I don't want to go as far as saying he has like that Audi character in him, but at least my man is unapologetically honest and upfront with himself and puts it out there. Regardless if you agree or you disagree with it, you got to respect that. However, we are here, so let's make this a good season and maybe even use this to become friends or some shit. So that was pretty unexpected. The fact that he threw out the friends thing there, sometimes wounds heal with time. I mean, listen, man, maybe Jason's just a big old teddy bear on the inside. I will tell you, man, my man gives good dap ups and hugs, 100%. But then Dark says, okay, yeah, it looks like we are playing this season together, so let's have a good one. I just want to point out how he doesn't say anything about I didn't want to work with you or the friends or some shit. He just acknowledges the play part, which is probably typical Dark fashion. Next, I got some screens here from Gunz's live chat, which I thought were pretty funny, and also some good questions that were asked fairly. So first one, clickbait, which I don't think was, because obviously he ended up showing. No more BN drama. What? How dare you? I knew it. Jason and Dark kissed and made up. I mean, dude, that'd break the internet. MFD will win and get everything. Would be sick in some respects. Crazy final zone, possibly. Warden, BN's already here recording. I actually didn't get a chance to come in that early. I came in sporadically, but then I had to go back and watch. Some guys, oh, natural. This is funny. BN disclaimer: anything you say can and will be clipped against you. That's messed up, but that's funny. That's funny. I would never do my boy Gunzy Poo like that. So who's gonna be your ally now? Did YSS say sorry to Jason? Right, we don't know. And last night YSS went crazy on Statue 1v3. Apparently they did. We got probably here's where am I at? So basically IMFS pray YSS to be compassive and let IMFS not to be zone locked zone 1 now. Now, keep in mind this still could happen. It just wouldn't happen until a final zone decision is made, whether it ends up being good or bad for their team. I called it not aggression pact. I knew it rigged. I just a little misclick for the spice. Yeah, definitely more of a nap. And then we get Fluffy. Oh, no, sorry, Captain. I see what you did there. I'm attack YSS anyways. Jeez. Fluffy saw YSS activity and took it back. Did anyone apologize? Nap, I'm having flashbacks. LMAO, so the cost for the initial Discord Dragon Rewards is not mentioned. This sounds like a nap instead of an ally. Nice, 2v3 is back. We go hand in hand to Dragonland. Ryuka, that's so good. Nap is not the same as the 3v3, which is accurate, and we touched on that briefly as well. It's back on the table, but the table's in the other room. That's probably accurate as well too. They don't have you worry about it. IMFS just needs to worry about how many days they can last before they get driven out of final zone. Shots. Easy peasy. I mean, Jason is on R5. Dark is not, so Dark shouldn't be around at all. Okay, let me play something here. However, I want to read you something from the stream, which was actually here. And I'm going to try and full screen this if it shows up maybe a little bit bigger here. And you can see Fluffy says, stop talking shite and provoking YSS and their members. It looks really bad on us as an alliance after they agreed not to be hostile with us. Just learn to shut the F up respectfully. Jason, also do not attack them when they come into our zone. To be clear, this is not really a nap. Right? It might be at face value kind of sugar-coated up to be a nap, but it's not really a nap. Right? This is more of a kind of like, hey, we're colleagues kind of a thing, but we don't work on the same team. And in that are like acquaintances. That's probably a better. It's like we're acquaintances. So in this case, all they've agreed to do so far is not attack each other. They never said they're not going to talk crap against each other. They're not going to have any competitive banter. Now, if that was agreed upon by both sides, fair enough. I also understand and get why Fluffy and others would probably want to put that out there because let's be real, this is a freaking powder keg, no matter how you look at it. This is a paper-thin quasi-nap that they're working with, to the point of where the moment that someone's mother or deceased dog that went to heaven a couple years ago, life's moved on, they're good, but someone found it out because they stalked a Facebook profile and now they're calling that out in Kingdom Chat, could explode this at any moment. Let's just be real. That's how thin it is. It's not thin to win. It's thin to lose, 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 lose all around. That's the level of ridiculousness that this is at right now. They're not singing Kumbaya and making s'mores together and singing campfire songs. That's not going to happen. Now, would that be cool if maybe eventually they got to that point? Sure. Would probably people still call them out for it initially? Absolutely. But we ain't there yet, pimpins. So I do, but again, I understand why they're doing that. I just think it's funny. And I'm not going to instigate or provoke and say it should still happen or it shouldn't happen. I'm just going to simply say that whatever does happen, we'll be here to cover it. Okay. Let's move on. I think it was 1345 here that I'm going to play 42. Yeah, so right here, we're going to play this for you.
Just a little misclick for the spice. Yeah, definitely more of a nap. Yeah, I mean, look, this doesn't mean we're riding off into the sunset with YSS, right? Like, the core problem still hasn't been fixed, but that's fine. We don't have to worry about that right now. You know what I mean? Let's just play the game, see what happens, and then we can kind of just go from there, you know? There's no guarantee that we're going to win at all. So,
based on what Gunz said here, what I will say is this. I actually think the odds are a little bit more in their favor than they think. I think Gunz is either downplaying this, or even if he does believe that, that's fine. But I think the odds are a little bit better than that. I actually think there's a slight advantage on their team's favor. Why is this? Because we've heard multiple people, even some people from MFD, and I don't know if Hunt has said this as well, but kind of viewing the situation as like this 2.5 versus 3, right? Where even if Hunt and MFD went up against YSS, there's still a very, very, very good chance that YSS just kind of runs through that. And that's not any offense to them. It's just the fact that you have these lower powered kingdoms, these lower A's, high B's that are in a KvK 1. And there's just different levels to it. And so you're going in and you could say it's like a 2.5 versus 3, right? Even if NXW has the edge out on IMFS, and then you say NTS has the edge out on WBA, well, YSS in this case would be the deciding factor. They give some support to both sides. If they're able to handle, let's say, MFD and Hunt, and it doesn't take that much away from them or out of them, and they don't have to allocate that much, you could make an argument to say that the odds are actually looking decent on the IMFS, NTS, and YSS team. Now, do I still think that anyone could win? I think that's fair. I think you could still say that. But I actually, at this point, for me personally, I think I'm going to give my edge a little bit. I want to put a little bit of my hat, a little bit of my coin in that hat. Because I think that's just kind of how it looks. Let's continue.
Nap, I'm having flashback. Natural said, so the cause of the initial Discord driving wars is not mentioned. This sounds like a nap instead of an ally. Yeah, it's, listen, no one said we're allies again. It's just a 3v3 back on the table. You know what I mean?
And so again, he's spot on here, right? And I think this is more of a 3v3. I don't really think that it is a full nap. But the fact is that he is right here, is that the matchup for the teams, for what originally was decided on, is back on the table. And I do think that's exciting for people to now at least have some hype, to have some motivation, and to now be looking even that much more forward to the final zone, whereas they probably weren't looking forward to it as much before all of this was announced.
So, Super Night, whatever, good morning. So, like, dude, honestly, like, anything could really happen, bro. You never know. You know what really needs to happen is that leadership is a team for a reason. You know? I think Dark and Jason both need to stay out of, like, those Diplo talks. They need everyone else who doesn't have bad blood towards each other just do the talking. But, you know, it's a dictatorship around here, so I highly doubt that. That's just my own personal opinion, you know? Like, I think that if you have people that have bad blood, why are you letting them go into a call together? Like, to do Diplo, you know what I mean? Like, that shit's just never gonna end well. Like, I don't know who thought 1 + 1 was gonna equal 3, but let me tell you, it doesn't.
Okay. Wow. Some things I didn't necessarily think he'd come out and say there publicly, but maybe that's just me. We talked about this yesterday when I reacted to us listening to the second meetup, and the VC recording. My whole simple thing was like, look, man, just have some self-awareness and recognize that sometimes certain people are better suited to certain jobs. That's it. Also, understand what you're coming into, and that it's basically a powder keg the moment that you see who's involved in the VC. And the third thing is that, like I said as well, it would have been, I think, an opportunity there was Jason just asking the question after Mark finished, and then I think Tomato or someone had spoke, and just simply asking, hey, you know, what's everyone doing here? I just want to understand what we're all here for. On top of which, once Jason figured that out, then it's okay, well, let's address this on, okay, well, can we remove Dark and remove some of these other people so we can kind of just, you know, have only a couple chefs here in the kitchen? I think that would have been at least an opportunity for an improvement on creating a more appropriate situation to have conversations at that point. And then obviously we hear from Gunz on saying the whole dictatorship. Now, I personally think that's a little bit unfair. I don't think Gunz necessarily means it with, like, in that way. But typically when you use the word dictatorship, I think the general populace usually has this negative connotation surrounding it, which is that when you say that, it comes across as though, oh, well, it's my way or the highway. I don't care what you say. I don't need to listen to you. Whatever I say goes, right? If I say jump, you say how high. And to be fair, maybe in some areas, Jason is like that. However, I have never heard from anyone there or anyone that used to play there that Jason doesn't listen to anyone. He doesn't take anyone's advice. He doesn't ask anyone questions. He doesn't allow for anyone to give him advice. And literally the management team talks amongst themselves, and all he does is just make decisions, and then he tells them what it is, and then they distribute all the information. It's like this one-way flow. I have never heard that. I have spoken to management people that have worked with Jason before, and especially Tiny's a good example on having conversations with him, advising. Tiny's even came on. I've had him and Jason on before. So, like, we know this is not the case. So again, I would have just said something like final decision maker. I think that's a little bit more appropriate. I think it's a little bit more clear. It doesn't necessarily come off negative in my opinion, but at the same time, it's not like Gunz is, you know, sitting here kind of going into a deep breakdown of their management structure and hierarchy and communication flow, etc. I just wanted to simply state that, not that I feel that he means it that way. I would just have rather said and or heard final decision maker or something else that's not dictator, right? And regardless of how anyone feels about it. So let's continue.
Jag, you ain't got enough merits to be talking like that, bro. Good old. Hey, I'm excited, bro. I'm excited. Look, like I said before, like, the problems of leadership ultimately like trickles down from players against players, and you know, for us it was never against any other members, but obviously if you attack someone's banner, you're attacking them directly. So I get how, you know, a lot of YSS players would be pretty upset with a lot of IMFS players, etc., but you know, it gives hope, dude. It gives hope, and hope is dope. Discord DM.
Okay, so that's pretty much it there. And I will say, as I end this out, he is right here. I mean, hope is dope in the sense of that if you want to have a great KvK, you have to solve one golden rule. You have one golden task to solve, which is how do you create an environment in which all of the players, all of the alliances, all of the kingdoms, and both teams, or depending on how many teams, all equally have and feel like they have a chance to win. If you cannot give each team that, each kingdom that, each player that, you have lost that KvK before it even starts. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to get any action out of such a KvK, but you're not going to get as much action as you could have. You're not going to get as much socialization as you could have. You're not going to get as much spending as you could have. You're not going to get as much engagement, contribution, and participation as you should have. And that's really what we want to try and get across. So again, I absolutely agree here. I think now the fact that a 3v3 has been mentioned, that it's back on the table, regardless of how you feel about it, I think that this is definitely increasing people's morales and is hyping up the final zone even more. Now, do we think it's going to be as great of a final zone as if there was no problems and no challenges at all? Does this mean that everyone's reservations are just out the window? Absolutely not. This final zone is still impacted in a negative way, because not everyone is going to be 100% into it because of what they know. Are more people into it now than would have been prior to this announcement? Absolutely. And that is a good thing. But you are still going to have to figure out a number of things. Some of those things, and I just think the most obvious one to me is, and maybe we'll talk about this more in a separate video, but I think the biggest one is what's going to happen on if you win or the other side wins the final zone. Because to me, best case scenario, NTS, IMFS, YSS wins. They figure out end of season reward distribution, and we're all singing kumbaya. Personally, I think that's the lowest percentage chance of what's going to happen. I would argue the highest percentage chance is that they win, but they don't figure out end of season reward distribution, and then IMFS and YSS start fighting each other, and NTS is just chilling there looking at them all like, oh, we're just going to go fight these other people. You guys let us know when it's all figured out. And then in the other worst case scenario is they lose, and then they immediately go back to fighting, and then we get to see if Dark's prophecy on easy zone lock for IMFS comes true or not. Regardless, I still win. Why? Because it's content for days, baby. So yes, aside from that, again, I wish them the best. I wish everyone the best. I hope it works out. I just don't think you can say that's the high percentage chance, that's the highest percentage play or outcome that everyone is like, oh yeah, this is totally going to happen. I just don't think it is. But again, I hope for the best. I'd love to know what you guys think. What do you think is going to happen? Given if everything plays out and nothing happens before Final Zone opens, we get to Final Zone. If they win, do you think they figure out end of season award distribution or it goes to shite? Or if they lose, do you think it goes to shite immediately and now IMFS is having to fight to try to not get zone locked? Or do you think something else is going to happen? I'd love to know. You'd let me know in the comments below. That's it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.